Really wanted to interview Tara. That's who I'm sitting with here today. Tara is my past coach. She is also the founder of Frequency Fitness, something that has personally changed my life, honestly. Like when we worked together, it was a life-changing thing. And now my path going forward, it was truly shaped so much from our time together. So introducing and also thanking at the same time, everyone listening, give a nice round of applause for the lovely Tara. Hello, hello.
Oh, that was so sweet to hear. Yeah, I'm very happy to be here.
Yes, and I'm happy to have you here. Like I said, I wanted to interview you like right when I started this thing. I was like, okay, I've got to talk to this girl because you've changed my life in so many ways. So to start off, I would love for you to dive in a little bit to frequency fitness and kind of that journey of starting it. Like why? Why did you start frequency? What was your story? Mike is all yours.
Yay. Yeah. So I personally grew up as a dancer, and with that comes usually with a lot of body dysmorphia, as a little girl, like staring at yourself in a mirror for literally 4 or 5 hours a day, depending on how many classes you're taking. And I was a competitive dancer, so I was there quite a bit. And in hindsight, now I'm realizing like I was a really skinny, like frail, frawny kid. But I thought I was so fat, because I could like squish certain parts of me, or I didn't have abs that some other girls did. We also had like some dance teachers that would give us like the craziest nutrition advice, like before we're about to step on stage, like don't eat any carbs and things like that, that little girls and should not be hearing. But unfortunately, most girls do hear from literally or as early as like 5 years old, especially depending on even just hearing their moms talk about their bodies or hearing their moms talk about the different types of diets that they're doing. So I would say I started my first like diet when I was like 10 or 11, which is crazy. So, and it was kind of just a cyclical thing since then. A lot of body dysmorphia, bad relationship with food, turning into like binging at night in college and secrecy, all of this stuff. And yeah, so thankfully, once I graduated from dance at like 16 years old, I got into the gym. Kind of a lot of people I think start fitness out of a place of self-hatred or a revenge body. In my case, a bad boyfriend made me want to start working out. In hindsight, it all works out, thank God that I did that. But yeah, so I really was on that whole spectrum of like a bad relationship with my body, bad relationship with food, lack of education. But I was consistent, right? That was one thing. I definitely was consistent in the gym from 16 to like 21. With no actual guidance for those 5 years, just YouTube University and doing the best that I can, following people on Instagram and whatnot. But thankfully, that did lead me to strength training, which I know if you're online and getting education from there, it can kind of lead you to a bunch of different places. Happy to happy that I got started with strength training. So that was definitely like a big passion of mine throughout college and all that. But it was really frustrating because at that time I had been strength training lifting for 5 years. And I'm telling you, Kelsey, like I did not look like it at all. I had big distended belly, lots of bloating. I was rarely ever going to the bathroom. Like I said, binging at night, restricting during the day. Like, I felt like I was constantly aware of my health. I was constantly thinking of my health, constantly going to the gym. Yet after 5 years, my body not changing at all was really frustrating. And if anything, I felt like I gained more weight, more inflammation, especially. So yeah, then gosh, yeah, at some point along the lines, COVID happened, and I was like, you know what? Let me take my personal training certification just to see if I'll pass. Like, let me like just learn something while we're all locked down and whatnot. And yeah, I passed the test. Let me see if I get a job. I got a job in a gym, and that's when like the wheels really started turning. Of course, just learning from other professionals and actually getting professionally certified and all the things, and then just hands-on experience. I got to learn a lot, and I would say like that is really when my physique shifted. I invested in my first coach because I really saw the benefits of having a coach from the other perspective. And yeah, and around the same time too is when I really stepped into like my spirituality. And I purposely bring that up because I think they um they correlate so much. Your body is your vessel to connect to the spiritual realm. So honoring my body and fueling my body also helped me honor my soul and fuel my spiritual practice and all that. So yoga became a big part of my practice, and that's when I really started to see inflammation in my body go down. So yeah, I guess that's my own journey. And then I did work in the gyms. I trained clients, mainly women, which is really funny because at the time you don't really get to choose who you train. You kind of just train whoever walks into the door. But I always preferred training women.
I
Um,
love I love that because and that kind of I want to like acknowledge so much of what you just said and also like that's such a good segue into what I want to ask you next. But it's cool hearing your story because like when I hired you as my coach, I didn't know any of that. I didn't know you were a dancer. I didn't know like what you went through with the diets and that culture growing up, as a client. And it's cool to like be on the other end of that because now I'm a coach too and I'm helping women and men with their health. It's really, I guess, humbling and like almost feels more connective to know like your story too. It's like, oh wow, she went through this too. Like I also had a poor relationship with food in my body since the age of like 10 years old, probably younger because of, my mom and like other older women figures and just like how the world was. So it's really, I guess, yeah, I don't know if enlightening is the word, but like it's nice and like feels good to hear that you also experienced those things. You said you then got into gyms and you were working with women. I want to know because so much of my journey in frequency, it was around hormones. So obviously, like with women, it's like, okay, immediately you think of like estrogen and progesterone. How did you really get drawn more into that like hormone health and strength training side of things?
yeah. So to be fully transparent, and this is kind of just to educate everyone out there, most in-person trainers, in-person personal trainers, if you walk into a gym, they are very well versed, hopefully, in strength training or in the workout aspect of things. But there's really no guidelines, there's no minimum education or anything when it comes to nutrition. So it's obviously a huge portion of a fitness journey. So even though I was coaching plenty of women, I probably had like 40, 50 clients per week at the time, maybe one, two of them were actually seeing progress because although I thought I was so confident that they were doing the, great workouts and making form progress and whatnot, I didn't know anything to actually teach them about nutrition. All I knew was a calorie deficit. I remember literally I had a woman tell me that she knew, she was working with like a nutritionist and she knew she was eating 1400 calories. And I asked my manager, like, she's not losing weight, she's eating 1400 calories. And in the gym, the manager was like, well, she needs to be in a deficit, so she needs to eat less. And I literally had to tell her to eat 1200 calories. And that is where all the education went, was just knowing calorie deficit. So it wasn't until I transitioned to be a fully online coach. I like to use the word like trainer, I think is when you're in person. Coach, in my opinion, is when you're online, because now I'm coaching women with nutrition and lifestyle aspects, which I didn't realize at the time how important those things were. Like I did touch on like stress management with yoga, but even just your sleep, your relationship with food, your daily steps, like everything you do outside of the gym, the other 23 hours of the day, like I would argue are more valuable, than your workout. Of course, it's hard to kind of rank what's the most important. Like they all are. Your strength training, your daily steps, your nutrition, your sleep, and then after coaching on those like topics, then that's just naturally you kind of start to ask the question as far as hormones, because there were a couple girls that I was coaching online for, let's say, like 6 months to a year, where they were doing everything right. They were following the strength training protocols, they were hitting their steps, they were hitting their macros, they weren't eating super low, they were doing everything right and nothing was budging. And I'm sure if there's any other coaches listening to this, you've probably come across, there's some clients that happens with it. It's really sad. It's really frustrating because you as a coach, you want to get them to make a transformation, but you also just get empathetic because you're like, damn, like this girl's really busting her ass. And the missing component really is hormones. And yeah, so then I pursued for further education and became a a certified functional health coach.
Mm.
Um, and that's where, like, kind of the hormone journey began. I and the first tip of that iceberg was birth control. I realized there was a correlation with the girls that saw better progress, they weren't on birth control versus the girls that had maybe slower or no progress were on birth control. So that's kind of where that started.
That's kind of the segue into it. Oh, I think that's so all of it so fascinating that one, a health professional who you were learning from told you to tell someone to eat 1,200 calories. And
Yep.
I want to just like dial that in because there still is the belief so much so that, we should be eating 1,200, 1,100, 700. I remember when I was in nutrition school, we had someone come in and speak to our class and tell us about I think he called it like the extreme low calorie diet. And he was showing us research and studies of people who were eating less than 700 calories per day. And he was trying to like validate why this was right. And I remember my whole class was like, no, like we were like, and I feel like we were like a little bit more woke at that point in time because this was almost 10 years ago now. But we were like, no, you can't do that. Like you're killing people, you're wrecking people. We didn't entirely understand the hormone piece because there wasn't much research back then. And like even now there's some, but there's still so much more to be done. So I guess just on that, what I want to know is like, what do you wish more women understood in their, because I think it's really like 20s to 30s range, like maybe even like a little bit younger to a little bit older. What do you wish they knew and understood about their hormones?
The first thing that comes to mind is I wish women understood that it's not like the hormones themselves are not the root of the issue. Okay. Those are a symptom of something that you've done to your body, whether that's you've put your body under chronic stress for a year, 2 years, 3 years from being in a toxic relationship or being always stressed about finances, or putting a lot of stress on your body by under eating for so long, or putting a lot of stress on your body by getting 6, 7 hours of sleep inconsistently here and there. So, like, a lot of women immediately when they want to, start working with me, they're immediately off the back of, okay, I know I have something going on with my hormones. And the first thing I ask is, okay, well, why do you think you would have something going on with your hormones? Not only like the symptoms that they're experiencing, but like, and what do you think caused that? Right. Like, and not to say that it's like your fault, the woman's fault. It's probably from, the lack of education, but yeah, I wish women understood that the hormones themselves is not the root of the issue. It is a symptom of something that you've done to your body in the past, and the underlying cause of all of those things that I just said is stress. Right? If your body's not getting enough sleep, that's a big stressor. If your not body's not getting enough food, that's a big stressor. If your body is, in a bad relationship, a bad job, those are all stressors. So yeah, I guess maybe I guess coming back to the importance of stress management is what I would
Yeah.
wish most women knew.
Totally. And I mean, that's us. Like my whole journey with you, I feel like was like, okay, let's slow the fuck down. Like, why are you doing so much? Why are you exercising so much? Why are you like not eating enough? And yeah, like why do you think that is? Like I know my opinions and beliefs and even like research around it, but I'm curious what you found. Why are we so goddamn stressed right now?
I do think it is unfortunately just the society we live in. Like, even just driving a car is stressful. Like, you have to be so aware, and there's rules and laws, and you could literally die. Like, it's, that alone is stressful. Having a job that we need to make money in order to keep a roof over our head, that is stressful. So just even if you have no actual stressors in your life, right? You can claim that you're just chill bill. Just in general, the society that we live in is very like goal oriented, and shit's getting expensive, and social media is becoming more and more prevalent, which is definitely a stressor. So I think no matter what, just the society that we live in right now sets us up to have more stressors than what we are like genetically supposed to, like as a caveman, we're just supposed to, like, I don't know, yeah, fight off some bears and lions or whatever. But like outside of that, we didn't have all of these stressors. And then don't even get me started on um like environmental stressors as far as like pollution and chemicals and fragrances that are probably in 20 products that we currently have on our bodies right now, and 20 products that we probably have around our house at any given moment. All of that, and then now throw on top of that alcohol, which is a huge stressor. Um, Toxic relationships, which most women don't even realize that is actually affecting their health. And then under eating, then they turn on the TV, from when they were 10 years old, and Jenny Craig or Weight Watchers, or they scroll on Instagram and they see someone talking about a calorie deficit. So now it's like, okay, you know what? Now, since my body's obviously under so much stress, let me put it under more stress by restricting its only resources, which is calories and food and fuel. Yeah, I think that answered your question. I wasn't even
Oh,
sure.
no,
Yeah.
absolutely. I agree so much with you, and I think that's why I chose to work with you as a coach is because you were preaching this online like over a year. I don't even remember when did we work together? Like last year around this time or like August is when we started.
Yeah.
Um, and you've been consistent. You've been consistently speaking about this and like speaking truth. And I remember seeing that and I was like, yeah, God, like I feel all of that. Yes, I'm like under eating and over exercising. And I'm doing these things from a place in my own experience of trying to feel better. Like I have that health background and it feels right for me to go and do these things. Yet it was actually making me go in like the opposite direction. So I'll touch a little bit more on my experience, but before I get there, what I kind of want to know is with the women you are working with, what is that biggest mindset shift? Like, what is the mindset they come to you with? And when they work with you for, X amount of time, kind of walk us through that process of the shifts you see happen in transforming their life.
Oh, that's such a good question because there's like a couple, and because that is the biggest shift is like the mindset aspect of things. The first thing that comes to mind, because I was just talking to a client about this, and she like just had that aha moment, um, is the mindset shift of paying attention to the scale versus paying attention to strength. Wanting to get smaller, focusing on weight loss versus wanting to get lean and focusing on fat loss, right? Like fat loss and weight loss are two totally different things. What is promoted to us a lot in, whether it was magazines or ads and whatnot is weight loss. We all know how to lose weight, which, yeah, that is just eat less and move more, but that doesn't end up making you keep any weight off. It doesn't end up keeping or helping you lose fat either. So when we talk about weight loss, we're also talking about like losing muscle mass and bone density, which you don't want to lose that lean mass. I promise you that. Um, and the purpose is because of your metabolism, which I'll get into metabolism as well. That's kind of the second point. But instead, shifting your focus and efforts to fat loss, which that's not what's promoted in the media and whatnot. And fat loss takes a different approach than just weight loss. So recognizing that most women, I would say most people, but especially women, are under muscled. So in order to get that lean and toned look that they're looking for, instead of focusing on the scale going down and down and down, focus on your strength going up and up and up, and you will end up with the result that you want of your waist will get smaller, your glutes will look perky, your arms will be toned, and your legs will be firm, and your cellulite will go down. That is from focusing on fat loss, which comes from, like I said, increasing strength. But guess what? Your strength is not going to go up if you're eating super, super low. So you're going to be in this one step forward by strength training and two steps back by not eating enough to actually fuel any type of adaptation from strength training. So that's like one mindset shift that I love to see women step away from. Most of my clients, I'm sure you did too. I don't even have you guys like weigh yourselves. I don't care about the number on the scale. Most people find that like pretty crazy when they sign up for a coach and they're like, "Don't you want me tracking my weight?" I'm like, "Not really." Doesn't really tell anything, because if you gain 5 pounds of lean muscle mass and you lost 5 pounds of body weight in, let's say, 2 or 3 months, that is gonna that is 10 pounds of progress, but the scale is gonna tell you 0.
Hmm.
0 progress has been made. But then, yeah, the next point too that's really rewarding to see, the mindset shift for women is understanding their metabolism. A lot of times we hear that word metabolism, and I know that I at least used to think this, and I feel like other people think that metabolism is simply like almost digestion of just like eating food and food coming out of you type of thing. But metabolism is so much more than that. Metabolism is like this umbrella, and what's under it is hormones, muscle mass, digestion, sleep, stress. So basically, your metabolism is the indicator of how fast your body wants to lose fat and gain muscle. So how many calories your body is burning at rest per day. So most women's bodies, like we've been on this podcast for about 30 minutes. Whoever has most muscle mass on them is going to be burning more calories just sitting here at rest. So instead of focusing on getting into a calorie deficit by how little can you eat, the biggest shift is focusing on how much can you get into a deficit by having more muscle on you, by having a faster metabolism, by just at rest burning calories throughout the day, which something even as small, people think is small, as sleep. If you got 8 to 9 hours of sleep last night, you're going to be burning more calories today than if you were to get 5, 6, 7 hours of sleep last night. So again, that falls under the category of metabolism, how many calories your body is burning in general.
Wow. I'm like, I love hearing you speak because, like,
Oh.
true, like all of it. It's stuff that I experienced in my own journey. But yeah, like women listening to this right now, I'm sure there's still so many who are like, what? Like, you can eat more and burn, and like, you can lift heavy and look more toned. Like, it now is to me and to you, obviously, like very common sense. It's stuff that we study and we look at like every single day. But that is a big shift to make when we've been told so long, like, no, you've got to eat less, move your body more. That's how you get skinny. That's how you get fit. But it's just not. So I love hearing that from you because yes, in my own experience, I would say those two were probably two of the biggest things that stood out for me as well. Coming into it, I remember I was sleeping maybe 5, 6 hours a night when we started working together. I was barely sleeping. I would be tired but wired. I remember you using that term too. I'd wake up in the morning because my cortisol was likely like way up to here and I was just like jumping out of bed. And because I am such a mindset girl, I would take that as like, well, I'm just excited. Like, I'm just excited for life. And I wouldn't really look at the actual body side of it. It was like, nah, me in my head, like, I'm just excited. Let's go. Oh, I slept 5 hours. That means I have more time in the day. Like, let's keep going. I'm a very driven person. But I didn't realize what I was doing by, living so much in my mind and not really connecting to my body was I was continuing to ignore my hormones and ignore the signs and really just like not look at them. So when we worked together, you were like, nah, girl, like you got to sleep like 8 to 10 hours. And I was like, haha, like good luck. I'm like, I'm a morning person. But then eventually, of course, like after working together for, I think it took like probably 4 months before I actually started sleeping because we were regulating everything. I was like, oh, wow, I actually now have energy to go work out and like have a good workout. Like I'm not feeling jittery and exhausted while I'm at the gym. And the other biggest thing, I mean, you helped me gain my period back. I had no period for like 4 years on and off leading up to working together. And by sleeping, one, and
Mhm.
eating and not, feeling like I had to work out 5, 6, 7 days a week, I now, and it's cool because it's lasted this long, like after not working with you anymore, but I now feel so confident in my body. I'm sleeping enough. I'm eating more than just like, 100% whole foods, but I'm eating all of the things and I feel better than I ever have. So everyone call Tara. Call her. She's
Oh, I love
absolutely
that.
incredible. You changed my life, and I have no doubt in my mind that you've changed, like, so many other girls' lives too, who've been in the program, who are in your program now, or who will be in the future. I wanna ask, so we talked a little bit about, like, the spiritual side, and I think that's also what drew me in as a client to you too. It's kind of like the whole holistic piece for people who come in and they're like, I'd want a program. Like, give me a workout program and nutrition program. How do you have, and maybe you don't even attract those women because I know like the law of attraction, but say they do come in, like, how do you navigate that and help people see that health is more than just, this piece of paper, this one thing?
Oof, I will say that is sometimes a challenge because Yeah, like, even for example, I got on a call with, like, a new potential client probably, like, 2 or 3 months ago, and yeah, she literally was on the call swearing up and down, "All I need is a nutrition plan and a workout plan and some accountability." Yet this woman is sitting in front of me, 100 pounds overweight, and I ask her about her current life, and she breaks down in tears because her dad is pretty much dying from cancer, and she's at this job that she hates. And then comes right back to, but I don't want to get into that. All I need right now is a workout program and a nutrition plan. And keep in mind, she is also working with a coach for a year leading up to this. So I was like, "Hey, in the last year, you've had a workout plan and you've had a nutrition program. What do you think is actually the root as to maybe why you haven't seen the progress that you want to see?" And she just thinks it just like wasn't, the right plan for her. So trying to walk people through that mental shift has to essentially happen either like early on, like I said, maybe even just that first call. And if they are completely not even open, sometimes I'll be honest and be like, "Hey, maybe we're not a good fit right now," which is always hard to say. But I would rather attract clients who are aligned and clients who, yeah, quality over quantity type of thing. But usually it does come kind of like I said earlier in this podcast, like the body is the vessel to your spiritual journey. So even if clients come into the program having no desire for any type of spiritual journey or they're not connected to that at all, it usually does start to come because when you start to feel that vibrancy for life or you start to feel that internal peace, you can't really help but sort of lean into like, all right, well, what's next for me, and how can I make my life and my perception better? So, some things that I like kind of sprinkle in and throw in there for women like that is how they talk to themselves because they're talking to me a lot about their body or talking to me a lot about their lives and stuff like that. And I'll always just catch people's language, of like, okay, you said right here that you are always blank. Anything that you say after the word always, you are deeming as 100% true. I cannot help you if this is your core belief, right? So if there's any room for possibility, for change, or, if you can even envision a life where maybe this isn't the actual definitive truth, then I can work with you. So then, languages start to shift of like, okay, I tend to be like this, or I see myself doing things like this. And then you kind of naturally start to step into like the witness of your thoughts, or yeah, observer of your thoughts rather than identifying with the monkey mind. We're all going to have intrusive thoughts and negative thoughts and really think that what has happened in the past is absolutely what's going to happen in the future. So, yeah, I would say usually just starting off with women's language, especially how they speak about themselves. And I mean, I also like to tell them a couple weeks into the program, the whole name of the program being Frequency Fitness is all about I think it's like David Hawkins frequency chart of emotions or something like that. But it's literally raising your frequency, right? And the lowest frequency you could possibly be at is guilt and shame.
Mhm.
And that is the frequency that most women are vibrating at. They're guilty because they haven't been to the gym. They're shameful because they ate 12 cookies last night. And that is doing so much more harm for your body just resonating at such a low frequency than the cookies could ever do. So that's a way to kind of help women just like literally raise their frequency, how they speak to themselves, how they think. And then yeah, it kind of snowball effects from there.
I love that you brought up David Hawkins because I'm reading his book right now. I'm reading that exact one where he talks about the different frequencies, but that's also such a good answer. I mean, even just in that book I'm reading, it's called Letting Go. It's not like people come to you and you're like, no, 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 this is the way. You're like creating that space for them to find that way on their
Mhm.
own and like giving the tools for women or, I mean, whoever to come to you and like go on that journey on their own and not just kind of, I mean, it would be kind of like people pleasing to be like, yeah, okay, here's my program, like just buy it and like good luck. Like you're actually still creating that space and foundation for them to build off of. I want to know, like, from your perspective, what did you notice? And this is maybe like a selfish question for me about my growth when we worked together. What did you notice was like the biggest piece in my growth or my shifts over the 6 months that we
Mhm.
were together?
No, I love this, and just in general, I just wanna say I have loved so far this conversation with you, like, how cool it is that you are a previous client of mine and that now you are coaching other women and spreading that, so just love this and would yeah, definitely love to dive into, like, your journey specifically, and I use you as an example quite frequently with clients, who are, either, having some type of fertility issues or missing their period, um but the biggest thing that I kind of refer back to is I remember, if this hopefully isn't spilling too much tea, that you were in a relationship that just wasn't aligned with you, just wasn't the right relationship for you. And it seemed that pretty much as soon as you let go of that relationship, your sleep became so much better. Almost like that week, that was that turning point. And I think it goes to show that our minds can love someone, our hearts can love someone, but if your body, nervous system doesn't feel safe around someone, sometimes it's totally subconscious. That can affect your sleep, that can affect your stress, and that is your health. Sometimes people look at like their sleep and their stress as these like isolated things that is your health. And again, that's under the umbrella of metabolism. Um, so I think that was probably the biggest thing is like really connecting the dots with you with maybe the things that don't seem super correlated. Like it's like what can my boyfriend have to do with my period or my physique or my bloating too? That was a big one. Your bloating pretty much instantly went down and digestion improved. So yeah, I think that was probably the biggest thing that I noticed about you that was really cool.
I had no idea what you were gonna say, and I'm so glad you did say that because yeah, like I mean a huge portion of my audience it's women, but also men and it's for both. Like sometimes we don't even realize the people in our lives, like the people that we're surrounded by, they are truly making like a visceral and like physical impact on us. And until we create that space or say like, I'm done, you
Mhm.
won't realize that. You won't realize like what the factors really are. So yeah, that's cool. And you said there's like a lot of women or maybe like a few women who are kind of like me who are experiencing that. So that makes me happy that I'm able to like hopefully passively help them get out of relationships that aren't serving them and it can
Yeah.
improve their health. Because you're right. Like I look at that too. Health health isn't just your fitness and nutrition. Health is your everything. It's your, like, when you wake up every day, what are you saying to yourself? When you look in the mirror, who are the people you're surrounded by? How are those relationships? Are they healthy? It doesn't mean there's no conflict, but like, how do you work past that conflict? Health is so much more. And it's holistic, which is again why, I mean, I just loved working with you so much.
Mhm.
What I want to kind of pivot to a little bit because here we talk a lot about health, but we also talk a lot about business. Frequency is, I mean, it's a fitness business. How did you, we're going to go back, how did you make that transition from working in gyms to now running an extremely successful online coaching business?
Oh, I love this question. I'm equally as passionate about both. I'm so passionate about fitness, but I am also so passionate about business. So yeah, I love this question. Oh, it's interesting because I would say two things had to happen. First of all, I had to build that self trust because in 2020, when I did take that personal training course and I was like, I passed, I would say most people, at least nowadays, the end goal is to work online. Like that was the intention. I didn't want to stay in a gym forever. But I didn't feel like confident enough to go off and do my own thing. So I worked in the gyms for, I think it was about 2.5, maybe closer to 3 years. And I didn't have much confidence in myself as a coach, for the first couple months. I mean, I was brand new. It makes sense. Um, but then with time under my belt, with clients under my belt, and working with other amazing coaches and learning and getting promotions and stuff like that, like it really just goes to show like you have to genuinely believe in yourself. It wasn't until I was like, okay, I can prove, how much success I've brought the business of this gym. And then looking at the money that I brought into the gym versus the money that I was bringing home, it's kind of like, what the heck? And I was like, you know what? Like, I know that I have the skills as far as like just the fitness coach aspect. I know I have the skills as far as like marketing and sales. So I was like, I felt like I had finally had those resources that I didn't have in 2020 when I first got my personal training certificate. So the very first thing is just the belief and confidence in myself had to come. I knew people believed in me as a coach, my fellow coworkers and my clients, but until I believed in myself as much as other people did, I was never going to like actually take action. And then, yeah, number two is you just got to do it. Like there really was no transition. I quit my job at the gym, which was the only thing I was doing, like, full time. I was actually bartending on the side too, which that was something else. Um, and I moved to Austin, Texas. So I got up and moved to a different state where I didn't know anyone. I'd only ever been to Austin, Texas once. But I was like, I just needed a whole life reset. I needed to start a business. I needed to be in a new environment. And yeah, it was literally just like a soul awakening. I feel like it was when I turned like 24. We have like birthday life crises.
Yeah.
And I was like, I got to do something with my life. And yeah, decided to move and start my business at the same time, which if anybody's listening who's an aspiring entrepreneur or at all, like that was a really big benefit, was just moving and essentially cutting off all distractions. I didn't have any friends to hang out with. I didn't have any like old stories or limitations of myself holding myself back. And I put myself in an environment where it was genuinely sink or swim, right? Like I'm going to move to this place and I'm either going to make my business work, or I'm going to move to this place and I'm going to have to get a job and work for somebody else in order to pay my bills. So just putting myself in that position, I think was helpful for me. So yeah, I would say that was sort of like the transition aspect, and also hiring a business mentor, which I did, thankfully, pretty much as soon as I got started. I moved to Austin in September and I hired my business mentor, I think in November. So literally, yeah, like 2 months into it, I was like, you know what? Let me pay somebody to help me, because I don't have anybody in my family who's an entrepreneur. I didn't know anything about taxes or marketing or even like how to sell myself in the Instagram world. So that was really, really a big step in my journey as well.
Yeah. Oh, I love it. Thank you so much for sharing. I really admire the just do it attitude. I think you and I are pretty similar in that sense, where it's like if we want something, we go for it and we make it happen, even if it's going to be fucking hard and scary. It's like, well, what else are you going to do? If you're not happy in your current situation, you've got to change your situation. So
Yeah.
question for, some of the women who might be listening, if they're in a place where either like health related, like fitness related, or business, if they're in a place and they're like, oh, like I'm tired of sitting here wishing I could do it. Like I'm sitting here and I'm like, oh, I could never be like her. I could never start the business. I could never, achieve the fitness thing. What would you say to them to help them maybe find that courage to just do it?
The first thing, kind of going back to what I would say, you're right. Whatever you say about yourself, whatever you believe and deem as true, your language is just casting spells. So, first, I would say assess your language, right? If you're like, I can't, I could never, this is hard, blah, 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 that is true. So, just first being aware of your language. Um, and then, second, like, how do I even like word this? Just you got to build up confidence with like receipts, So look at everything that you have accomplished, right? Look at your credibility or your education. If you graduated college, like you are more educated than most people. If you have been able to maintain a job for a year, then that's a pretty big win. If you have a roof over your head, that's a big win. If you're paying your own bills, that's a big win. So like looking at like shifting your awareness to not the things that you can't do, but the things that you have done to build up that self-confidence and that self-trust. And kind of like what you said earlier, like it can be scary and it can be hard, but it's also really scary to not make action, to stay, small. And then you're in your 80s and you look back on your life and you're like, God, I didn't take action. I didn't take that risk, which I heard a quote last week, which is my new favorite quote, which is the biggest risk that you can take is taking no risk at all. So like, yeah, I like
Love
that
it.
one.
Love it.
Yeah. So like that's, it's going to be hard and it's going to be scary either way. You choose your hard and you choose your scary.
Yeah, it's such good advice. And I mean, every person that I speak to, it's so cool how, I mean, you all say something similar, but in a different way. Anyone who has that entrepreneur mindset or is like driven in their fitness, you all say something that's like, yeah, you just got to go for it. And you got to like reprogram those beliefs because you're right. Like what you say, I think at what is abracadabra? It's literally like you're casting a spell on yourself and your own life. And life is pretty magical when you realize that. Okay,
Mm.
final couple questions because we've been yapping hard for like actually quite a while. This has passed so quickly. So I want to take some like final few minutes here to ask you. We're not going to call them rapid fire because I'm not rapid, but we'll try our best. For you currently in your life, what maybe let's say like three habits or practices do you have that helps you stay in alignment?
Mm. Definitely breath work. Just paying attention to my breath at all times. Not all times, of course, but anytime I do have a moment to remember, and that's the whole practice of like meditation is to just keep bringing your awareness to you. So, if I'm about to get on a call with a client and I'm nervous, instead of just being in those nerves or trying to distract by scrolling on my phone first or drinking more coffee, like just being aware of my breath. Okay, if I can control my breath, I can control the pace of my heart rate. So I think breath work at all times, even if you're just chilling. Okay, can you breathe a little bit deeper? So breath work, and it doesn't have to be like a big practice, but just those little reminders throughout the day. Kind of on that same note of being aware of my body and the balance between rest and movement. Not only valuing the productivity, not only valuing when I get a workout in or only valuing, PRs or something, but really valuing good quality sleep, really valuing genuine rest. I just got back from a massage and I'm just like in my head, I'm like, I'm so grateful that I do this like every 6 weeks basically. So yeah, I think a practice of the yin and the yang, the ease and the effort.
Mhm.
Um, one more, I think maybe it's on the same note, but masculine and feminine balances as well, as an entrepreneur, as a businesswoman, in the fitness industry where it can be a lot of like masculine led people or that type of personality of go, 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 work hard, making sure that I still keep my creative feminine balance even as an entrepreneur. I don't want to become obsessed with KPIs and obsessed with sales or anything like that. Or, I want to make sure that I started my business because I want to enjoy my life and I want to have freedom and I want to make sure that I keep that flow even with the hard work and the dedication and the structure. I want to make sure that there's like always room for the feminine side as well.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. And that's such a good segue to my next question. What is lighting you up right now outside of business?
Mm. Mm, 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 mm. Huh, well, I did just get a kitty cat. I got 2 kitty cats, which is, exciting. So I got my first cat, which I've never owned a pet like myself. I grew up with dogs. My mom had dogs. So yeah, I think stepping into like motherhood for the first time, which might feel kind of silly, but like I'm taking care of a living being where like I am a mom, and I even had like felt weird referring to myself as a mom to this cat, which I know is so silly, but like, being nurturing and being responsible for someone else's life. I also live with my partner now. So, like, this is the first time I've been in a relationship that's lasted longer than like 6 months. We just hit a year. So, I think kind of just elevating as a woman and a caretaker and a partner, that's been lighting me up. It's like finding a new side of myself.
I love that. There's the feminine right there. And
Yeah.
congratulations on a year. I can't believe it's been a year. What the heck?
I know, right? I know. I feel like we probably had just met when like you and I started working together. Yeah, I know it's been a year. It's weird. It feels like it's been less than, but it also feels like I've known him forever. So it's cute.
Oh, that's sweet. That sounds like it's a good sign. Good sign for
Mhm.
sure. Okay, final question. How do you define success?
Mm, freedom, easy peasy. Definitely thought of that a lot in my life. Because I've hit cool goals financially or with the business and lots of transformations, and that's huge as well. I do want to say that, like, I don't like to focus on, when it comes to business, like how much money can I make. Instead it's more like how many lives can I impact. And like, even another reason why it's so rewarding to talk to you is because my impact that impacted you is impacting other people that you're coaching, and even just all of that. So that is success to me, is definitely like how many people can I impact. But I think personally, just like what I experience on a day-to-day basis is freedom, freedom with my schedule. That's the ultimate success to me. Freedom with traveling, or just even just freedom with being myself and not having to um be somebody that I don't want to be in order to fulfill some type of role or expectation. So yeah, I think freedom is the ultimate goal for me.
Oh, I love it. I absolutely love it. Thank you so much, Tara, for this conversation. You are so well spoken, and I feel like there was a ton of nuggets just in like everything that you said. If people want to find you, where shall they reach out?
Yeah. So Tara Kranzel, just my first and last name, all put together, is my Instagram. I'm the most active on Instagram. I'm not on anything else for the most part. That's my personal page. If you want to see more about frequency, the transformations, here are some testimonials. The frequency Instagram is frequencyfitness.coaching. Yeah, that's how you can find me though. And yeah, I've really appreciated this call as well, this conversation. I would love to do it again because I could keep yapping.
I know. Well, for sure, we're going to need to have a part two. I'll be sure
Yeah.
to link all of Tara's stuff down below in the show notes, whether you're on YouTube, Spotify, whatever you listen on. Thank you so much for listening, people. And yeah, we'll see you soon.
Bye.
Bye.